With the release of the Apple M4 Max, I thought it would be the perfect time to just sit down and finally talk about the main backbone running this channel. I purchased the 14-inch M1 Macbook Pro back when I was in grad school over 2 years ago, and it was not an easy pill to swallow. I mean, at the time that I purchased it, it was over $2,000. This machine was probably the most expensive PC I have ever purchased at the time. And ever since then, it has seen a lot of use, from running ML and AI school projects during my grad years to now video and photo editing for the channel. In fact, I'm pretty sure around like 90 to 95% of the videos on the channel that have been produced over the past year or two have been edited and uploaded on this exact laptop. So I want to give my perspective of using this laptop coming from a lifelong Windows user and just give my thoughts about it and whether or not it's still worth considering it now with the M4's releasing. So let's get into it. First of all, I love the design of these Apple Silicon MacBooks, and especially the 14-inch with how small and compact it really is. I mean, this machine easily fits in a lot of 13-inch EDC slings and bags, and that makes it a lot nicer to travel with if I really need to. There's also the fact that not a lot has changed with the design of the Pros since this M1. You still get the fantastic high refresh rate, mini LED display, Thunderbolt 4 ports, MagSafe charging, great speakers, and Touch ID just like in the newer M4 MacBooks. I think really my only little problem is just the fact that ever since I graduated, I barely bring this laptop out of the house even though it is portable. The most impressive thing about this machine that I just can't stop thinking and talking about for it is how fast and snappy it still is. I was a little concerned with the base 16 gigabytes of RAM not being enough for me when I initially purchased the laptop, especially considering the price, but the M1 Pro chip has just been absolutely killer in performance for the things I do on the machine, and surprisingly, the base RAM has not been much of an issue as I have thought. Rendering DaVinci Resolve videos for the channel, even for the most heavily edited ones, I barely notice any major slowdowns and the videos still render really quickly. I mean, stuff like, opening up a bunch of tabs and, watching YouTube videos and researching stuff or doing stuff like basically multitasking, like the workflow I have, I've never really taxed it that much to the point where it feels noticeably slower. This kind of performance I would never expect from a relatively quiet and small laptop. And the battery, man. Even at the degraded state that it is now, I have got to say that I have never seen a laptop not just as snappy as this one, but also have a battery life that can last me a day off the charger. Like, I am still getting a good 5 to 6 hours off the wall for the most part, which is, for me, is more than adequate enough for the scenarios where I actually need to bring the laptop with me outside of the house. Now, I don't do a lot of gaming on this device, but from the limited number of games that I've tested on this machine, gaming is fine, I guess. It isn't impressive by any means, especially since this isn't the Max chip with more GPU cores. But the main factor that I found most impressive was being able to play those games while still having excellent battery, especially compared to literally every gaming laptop I've seen and tried. The only recent PC machine that I can think of off the top of my head that has had battery life while gaming as good or comparable, like close to comparable as this Mac has been the ROG Ally X, and that one has a beefy battery. Plus, it takes on emulation gaming, especially the hard-hitting ones like PS3 emulation, like a champ. But like I said though, gaming was never my intention for this laptop, but after testing it, it is pretty cool to see the potential. We'll have to see if anything improves in terms of support, but the potential's there. I'll say that. So overall, I've just been very impressed and very happy with this laptop. I only got two minor nitpicks. First of all, I'm still not a fan of the notch. My pet peeve with it is when you have applications like DaVinci Resolve that have a bunch of like top bar menu items that you can have. When it overflows the notch, it just looks kind of ugly in my personal opinion still. Second off, the base 16 gigabytes of RAM. While yes, it does feel snappy still, I do notice a good amount of memory pressure when using up all of it, and especially if I'm doing something like researching for a video while I'm editing it, it does take up quite a bit of memory pressure. So honestly, I kind of regret not upgrading the RAM when I bought the device, because honestly, if I got 32 gigs of RAM when I did, I probably would have 100% kept this laptop for way longer. The reveal of the M4 Max really are making me consider trading this MacBook in. There seems to be a sizable jump in performance, especially compared to the M1s based on benchmarks that I've seen leaked. And I absolutely love the new design of the Mac Mini, especially for its price point. That machine could serve as just my Mac desktop instead, and is still small enough to bring around if I absolutely need to. But with that being said, and looking at how well this M1 MacBook is still performing, I'm also thinking it may just be for the best to hold up for an upgrade. Don't get me wrong, the M4s are definitely a leap. A doubling of performance is seriously impressive. However, this machine, for everything I do, is still fast and, doesn't break a sweat. And spending money to go to the M4 most likely won't show any major improvements for the things I do with my machine. Even the M4 Max headlining feature of Apple Intelligence, in my opinion, is still not a reason to upgrade, because it literally is also releasing on this M1 laptop as well. The biggest limiter for my machine, in my experience, is really just the 16 gigabytes of RAM. But even so, with how much multitasking I do with this machine, it's impressive how it's able to manage that RAM so effectively to still feel responsive. And honestly, I'm probably going to hold off for an upgrade, at least for a little while. And I think a lot of people will have the same experience as mine. With how easy you can get these machines nowadays for under $1,000, the M1 MacBook Pro is still fantastic for a lot of use cases. And I highly recommend looking at this machine if you are looking for a MacBook Pro without breaking the bank. You are getting a lot of the great design features of the M4s, while still getting good enough performance for 90% of use cases, in my personal opinion. I don't regret purchasing this machine at all, and coming from a Windows perspective, I am seriously impressed with what Apple Silicon has provided for just a general laptop experience. Just remember that if you want to play games, the Steam Deck provides a better experience, in my opinion, so there's that. Well, I think I want to leave it there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Later.